Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ha, Rekah Kwadash, Ma'amath. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and their elders. Double honors to my apostle and elder as well, Aharawan Bayasha Allah of the Lions Den Camp here in Jacksonville, Florida. And salutations to the fellow Akim, Atwafium, and Bunyam that believe in truth and sincerity. It's your brother Athanya Allah back to you another lesson. Yahweh Ratazah edifying. And you can read the title. It's just a news article, a quick news update. It says Iran conflict heightens cyber threats to Babylon energy infrastructure. All right. As we know, this guy Neuro 45 and 47, he pretty much been sending threats over there to the Middle East, specifically Iran. All right, we know the back and forth with them in Iran with the small hats. You know, again, the least of the flock shall draw them out, the small hats. Ultimately, bringing Babylon the Great to jump the Persians, so to speak. All right. But we know Iran, Persia, they're a part of that new BRICS alliance that the Lord set up pertaining to Ezekiel chapter 38. All right. You know, that's ultimately behind Gog and Magog, all right, which is Russia. But when you read the article, it says the energy sector has long been targeted as a point of leverage in geopolitical conflict, right? You know, due to their proxy war, so on and so forth. But now we at a point where it's going to be at a mass scale. All right, again, we're at the end of a thing. All right, again, we're entering a world's war, all right, or World War III, which is pretty much already started. All right, but the longer, the gradualism is just going to add more and more nations and countries, and those nations and countries just going to be, they're going to choose the side. All right, they're going to be put in their proper perspective through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But it says historically, energy disruptions were concentrated on logistical and supply interruptions, right, to exert economic pressure on adversaries. For example, through sanctions, oil embargoes, right. So there's already embargoes and things like that in place, and we saw that through sanctions and things like that when Neuro 45, 47 was in office from the first time even until now, the second term. Okay? Sanctions on top of sanctions. As it says here, oil embargoes. So there's already embargoes in place. So ISUPK are false prophets pertaining to the MOTB is in embargoes. All right? And restrictions on key shipping lanes. More recently, right, restrictions on key shipping lanes. A key shipping lane would be like the Gaza Strip, so to speak. All right. So it's restrictions on those lanes. All right. Babylon the Great is creating chaos over there in that region. All right, because he can't have his way. In Iran, ultimately they have to constantly open and close it, which they're gonna eventually stop playing with this damn devil. All right. You know, like Dora the Explorer, like, you know, you got the swiper, no swiping. They're not, eventually it's not going to keep on going on and on and on. All right. It's going to come to a climax of it all, an end, which is going to amount to what? World War III, the Lord's judgment, when the Lord's going to denuclearize the earth. All right. But it says more recently, however, direct physical attacks on energy infrastructures have increasingly been deployed as a core military strategy. In the context of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, strikes on Ukrainian energy systems tripled this year over previous years of the war, resulting in a near collapse of the country's power grid. Last week, President Donald Trump threatened attacks on Iran's electricity grid, right? And Iran responded that it would retaliate against energy and water systems across the Gulf. And I saw an article today that it was a possible, like, the water is being manipulated, so on and so forth. But, you know, Esau even do that to his own people. You know, you had the Flint water crisis, so on and so forth. But who's to say that that wasn't an attack, you know, allegedly, or things like that? Ultimately, it shows you that things like that ultimately can happen. All right, these people can breach the grid, manipulate, and when you think of Iran and Persia, they're real advanced at tech. All right, so when the Lord says in the scriptures that he goes send fanners that shall fan her, all right, and empty her land, going into these foreigners, all right, that's ultimately going to empty this place. All right, that's why Babylon the Great has been built up as that melting pot. All right, it's all the doings of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai to bring this devil, all right, his kingdom, all right, ultimately him and his kingdom to the king of terrors, man, to the ground, to the dust, confusion. This is the article. This is another point I wanted to go into. It says, today, Iran does not have long-range weapons capable of causing physical damage to domestic U.S. energy infrastructure. And that's what they think. All right, and that's why they're trying to deprive the Persians, all right, Iran, from uranium enrichment, and that's why it's a wrestling when it comes to the contracts and the paperwork that Esau got in place pertaining to war and who can use what and who can have what. All right, but he no longer has that say so, as you can see. All right, they still trying to push this notion that Iran is this and that, just like they do typical Jake over here, man. They put that narrative or that stereotype on them. But who's to say they don't have the might to touch U.S. infrastructure from a physical standpoint, as far as a missile that can touch this place? Because it's rumored to be that they do. All right. So again, Esau go downplay what he fear. So it says here, however, physical risk remains. Iran has increasingly used unmanned aircraft systems to attack critical assets, and pro-Iranian entities within the U.S. have capabilities to use drones as weapons, a threat that is difficult for utilities to counter. The threat, however, does not end with physical attacks. The energy sector is vulnerable too. It has been increasingly targeted by a cyber threat across in recent years. For several years, there has been strong evidence that foreign adversaries, notably the People's Republic of China, PRC, have successfully infiltrated and pre-positioned on Babylon the Great critical infrastructure, including energy systems. While these instances have not caused outages significantly, they have demonstrated the PRC's interest in targeting strategic critical infrastructure for disruption, including during future conflict. The Babylon the Great itself has become more vocal about offensive cyber capabilities targeting the grid. In January, Babylon the Great Cyber Command reportedly conducted a cyber attack strategically turning power off and on in Venezuela in support of the mission to capture Nicolas Maduro, with President Trump famously stating a power blackout. All right, so that was an operation. They were practicing something. At the end all be all right, even though he took oil, stuff like that. It shows the proxy in wars, which ultimately going to lead to the climax of it all, which is World War III. The first and second war has passed, and the third war coming quickly. All right, as we went into a great area of the Cold War, post World War II, to where he had to build his nuclear arms race. All these nations. All right, as we go get into it, that brings one of the scriptures to mind, Joel chapter 3. Joel 3 and 10 is what came to mind. Many other scriptures, all right? I wanted to go into the plagues of Egypt, all right? Because the Lord warned what? He gonna send the plagues, the same plagues as ancient Egypt. He's gonna send them again. All right, as he said, I believe he mentioned that in 2nd Ezra chapter 15. So this is part of those plagues of Egypt. all right, ancient Egypt, as well as this modern day Egypt pertaining to Revelations chapter 11 and verse 8. All right, you had what? Darkness among the people, all right, among Pharaoh and his people. Only ones had light was the Israelites, but the Israelites in these times will represent the elect, because even 2/3 of our people they go be met with utter darkness, man, gross darkness, judgment, all right, but a real literal darkness, all right, is allegedly, possibly gonna smite this place, all right. Just think about a grid being hit on these people that are spoiled, who don't know how to survive, don't know how to go in the backyard. They don't go in the backyard and butcher their own cattle for food, so they're spoiled. Versus the people over there in the Middle East, that's how they live, you know. So they have somewhat of ancient form of living, like wilderness cooking, things like that. They know how to butcher and an animal, clean it, cook it, and eat it, you know. The people over here, ultimately, it's just going to make them turn barbaric, all right, like Esau. But this second Ezra chapter 15 and verse 10. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Right, it's time to repent, or you go get caught up in the judgment of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right, the judgment of Babylon the Great, the judgment of the second Egypt, all right, which is also spiritually called Sodom. All right, this is Sodom in Egypt pertaining to Revelations 11 verse 8. All right, that great city. So the Lord goes send what? The plagues of ancient Egypt on this new Egypt, man. So, and the Lord's not going to suffer what? For his people to dwell here. So he's sending these judgments for what? Scourges, for amendment, for correction. In the second Ezra 15 and 11, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, right? And will smite Egypt with plagues, right? As before, right? So what he's talking about, you know, this is a future prophecy. Here in 2nd Ezra 15 and 11, man, he says, as before. And will destroy all the land thereof, right? So is Egypt destroyed right now? Nah. You still got people over there and thieves, Arabics, all type of nations over there posing, trying to be whatever they trying to be, Hamitic. So what? He go destroy all the land thereof, man. So Egypt still exists. So this is unfulfilled prophecy. All right, and we know Egypt is a term synonymous for the house of bondage. All right. So this is Egypt today, pertaining to the house of bondage, where the majority of the Lord's people are. All right, here in the land of the north, in the neck of our enemies. It says here, back in the article, with President Trump famously stating a power blackout surrounding the raid was due to a certain expertise that we have. You know, trying to brag and act as if his technology is better than the rest of the world's. All right, but this is the pride of Esau, and how the Lord built up that pride of Esau. The Lord can, according to Daniel 4 and 17, the Lord ruleth in the kingdom of men. He give it to whoever so he will. All right, so the Lord can set up someone better than you, all right, pertaining to your military might, you know, the wickedness that he spread forth through the four corners of the earth like a green bay tree. You know, he set up an adversary to ultimately, you know, burn that unfruitful vine, that wicked vine. Esau spreaded himself as, you know, burn it up, tending to the other nations. But I wanted to get the book of Joel, all right? Because we know the Lord, what? He's going to send those same plagues on on Egypt as before, all right? And we'll get that in Exodus chapter 10, going through some of the plagues, but specifically the utter darkness And that's the darkness that the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, is going to bring on the second Egypt. And it's going to be greater than before. But this is the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 10. It's like I got a new sword. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 10, so the pages stuck together. Beat your plows shares into swords, Salam, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Right, so that's what these nations done. They turned their things and their economical power as far as their finances, all right, towards their military might, all right, to prepare for this dreadful day of the Lord, all right. So the Lord says what? Beat your plowshares into into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears, right? So these tools for agriculture, for growth, for economical growth, take that for war, for destruction, all right? And gather yourselves together round about, that the cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. All right. And it's back in Joel chapter 3 and verse 10. I'll read it from the top. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Right. It's the Lord's doing this. You know, he ruleth in the kingdom of men. He's getting ready to judge the oligarchs throughout the four corners of the earth for the sake of his people. All right, for the sake of the elect, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, that's written in the book to be saved from these sad perils, man. To be an example to the children of men and to the unbelievers, man, of that God is, that he exists, all right? And he's going to send the deliverer, all right, his son, who the world ignorantly calls JC, whose name is Yahushua, meaning he delivers. All right, he's going to send him, all right, to deliver his people in the rain, all right, and take his footstool, all right, to take these dominions within his footstool up under him, ultimately, all right. This is Isaiah 14 and 10. And I'll try to not be long-winded, get right through it, all right. This is Isaiah 14 and 10. This is Isaiah 14 and 5, and this is what what's coming to pass, man. When this devil gets put into his, he becomes the son of perdition ultimately, man. He fulfilled his lot. This is Isaiah 14 and 5. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked, right, and the scepter of the rulers, right. Again, he's getting ready to judge the oligarchs throughout the four corners of the earth. These so-called kings, priests, pharaohs. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, right, Esau. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth, right. You know, you spreadeth yourself like a green bay tree. All right, the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. The righteous bear rule, the people rejoice. All right, so what? They mourning. So when this devil is put out his misery and he's out the way completely, nobody's going to hindereth. Verse 7, the whole earth is at rest and is quiet, right? They break forth into singing. Yeah, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fellow has come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth, right? It have raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? And that's why Iran's saying, You know, every time this devil say something about what they can't do or what they can do or what they're doing, you know, they come out and beg to differ. State that he's a liar and he's the father of it, man, as we tell you. Pertaining to Psalms 55 and 20, they don't trust this devil. The jig is up, all right, for Esau, for Babylon the Great, for his power throughout the four corners of the earth, man, as well as his infrastructure, man, the beast-like system, all right, that persecuted these nations, man, that persecuted the people, all right. So this is what Iran, this is how they're feeling. They come as weak as we, all right. Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, right? And this is Isaiah 14 and 11. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave in the noise of thy vows. The worm is spread under thee and the worms cover thee, right? And the worm feasts on the dead thing. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weakens the nations, right? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north, right? I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High, right? And this is his MO, man. And this is, he has what? His satellites. He set his nets among the stars, right? This Esau Edom, man. This is calling him out verbatim. Verse 15, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, right? And hell is a condition before it's a place. All right? He's going to be brought down to hell, a very low condition. To the sides of the pit, right? They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, right? That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners, right? That didn't let the, as the Revelations 11 verse 8 says, man. I mean, verse 9. You know, they suffer not to put their bodies in graves, man. They ain't let the Lord, they're not going to let the Lord people know who they are, man, until Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5, till the Lord show up. So much so to where 2/3 of our people would get caught up out in it. All right, but it's all designed by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. Again, the prayer of King David, Romans 11, verse 7. All right, Israel not pertaining what they seeking for. Why? Because they suffer Stockholm syndrome. They too caught up in the Esau's philosophy, too caught up into Esau's kingdom. They believe in Esau. Esau became their God. The God of this world became their God, which is Esau. All right, so what? They're of their father, the devil, pertaining to John 8 and 44. So the lust of their father, ultimately they do, and they ultimately go get the judgment as the unbelievers, man, as they father, as though hand in hand, the wicked not going unpunished. All right. You know, so it's a judgment for Esau. And there ain't nothing he can do about it but speed it up. It's Isaiah 30 and 13. He needs to speed it up. Gotta get out of here, man. And stop. Let's see, footing around, you know? This is Isaiah 30 and 13. Therefore, this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. It's speaking on 2/3 of our people. You know, but it's going into what? Their confidence in Egypt. Because in the beginning of Isaiah 30 and 1, it says what? Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord, that take counsel, but not of me, and that covereth with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. It's going to lead them all the way to death. Again, the scriptures say it's a way that may seem right unto a man, but the end thereof is the ways of death. All right. So again, that breach is gonna be, it's gonna be like a swelling wall, man. got mold and black mold and mildew and swelling wall. You know, the stucco is swollen. And it's swollen full of moisture. So it's going to break eventually. All right? It's going to break. It's an untempered mortar, so to speak. When it comes to what? Esau's kingdom, his philosophy, his system, his way. All right, so just as the people who believe in his way is going to be a breach ready to fall, if it's a breach ready to fall for those who believe in the way, it's a breach ready to fall to begin with. There's no foundation in it. There's no truth in it. All right, so again, the Lord bringing that darkness upon Egypt. All right, speaking on the power grid, allegedly. All right, it'll be the Lord's doing for them to put in the hearts, meaning your la'av, your mind, of these heathen nations to hit America's grid and get shit rolling and shit hitting the fan. This is the book of Exodus chapter 10, and I'm gonna get a quick point and not go into all of the plagues, but just go into, I believe the darkness was the ninth plague. All right, you had water going into blood. Even the scriptures speak on that pertaining to Revelations, the water turning into wormwood due to the radioactive waste, because the Lord is getting ready to denuclearize the earth. All right, he allowed this devil to split the atom during the time of World War II so we can enter into this nuclear arms age. All right, we can approach the dreadful day of the Lord. All right, so these things had to happen. All right, and destruction ultimately has to come. All right, for the Lord to send his emergency vehicles, being the UFOs, the unidentified area phenomenons, UAPs, so to speak. All right, that divine intervention to deliver his people, to show that he still exists, man. That's the point. All right. Iran threatens to attack the power grid, but it's all through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, whether they do it or not, allegedly. This is the book of Exodus chapter 10 and verse. Exodus is a Greek term. Remember, even our elder going into that, which it is. Genesis, Exodus, it should be the book of the wilderness. This is Exodus chapter 10 and verse 21. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moses stretched forth his hand towards heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. Right, scared, shook. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. Right. So you want light in your dwellings, and that's having its truth, the Urim and the Thummim, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, because this place is getting ready to get utter judgment. You know, I believe hell was one of them. Hell was another plague upon Egypt. We saw a hailstorm the other day when they tried to do Duval Day here in Jacksonville a month ago. They had the dude, Lil Duval here, cooning on stage, just selling out his people, all type of shit. They had a whole hailstorm. They didn't even get the joy that day. It was crazy. But it's like little events like that that's going to happen sporadically. Even when we see like the thunder and lightning here, because we got real unorthodox and spontaneous weather here in the summer, to where it rain a lot, stuff like that. Like you can tell, like the storms and the thundering and the lightning is different. It's changing. It's like when you was a kid, like when you really feared it, you know. It's that's coming back. You know, we saw locusts, all right, over there in the Middle East. We didn't see it come in the form of fashion like it was doing in the Middle East years ago. All right, again, attacking the vegetation, again, adding on to that famine. So, hey, then the ultimate judgment, being the 10th, was the Lord slaying the firstborn. Just laying shit down. There were reasons why we had the Passover, so to speak. You know, hoping that the Lord pass over us. And this is the similar fashion that we're in today, man. The ultimate, the climax of it all, you know, is the Lord judgments, and we want to be saved out of that. But yeah, they threaten to you know, cyber attacks, proxy wars. They threaten to attack the power grid in retaliation, allegedly. But Shalom, Hapadan, DTA, to the next one.